Good morning. This is Jeff Kohler, the Option Addict from optionaddict.blogspot.com. Here to share another weekly watch list. Some things that I've got on my radar that I'm hopefully going to use to scrape some money out of the market this week. So before I get started, here's my disclaimer. Go get your own ideas. Just kidding. Let's take a look at a few price patterns to start off with. First one I want to go to is ticker symbol LAZ, and that was a trade of the week that I put on a couple of weeks ago. Let me get into my one-year chart here. And what you see going on here is a little bit of a symmetrical triangle or a pennant or a coil or a consolidation or whatever you want to call it. Now, of course, if I switch over to a line chart, you'll see that using closing prices, it looks a little bit cleaner. You don't get the highs and lows and the wicks all over the place. But I'm looking for this to break a little bit lower. I mean, obviously, there's a little bit of struggle going on in the financial sector, and I think this stock is poised for a pretty good drop. And here it is sitting right on our support line. So I've got that on my radar. Next, I'm watching FLIR, and you know what? I did come across quite a few symmetrical triangles, to be quite honest. And I don't know what to make of all that. Symmetrical triangles, ascending triangles. This one here, it's not exactly perfect, but it's an ascending triangle nonetheless. So I'm curious to see how this works out. It's traded very, very strong throughout this little blip we've seen in the market. So keep an eye on FLIR. I'm watching this one to break above 52, and I'm going to get me some calls. Next, I'm going to go the bearish route here to BJ Services, ticker symbol BJS. And this thing just kind of halted here at 24. I'm looking at this as kind of a little descending triangle, looking for this to break 24. If it does, I'm looking for about a 3-point drop, taking this thing onto right around $20 per share. Next, JCPenney's. I've seen all kinds of crazy things going on in retail, to be quite honest. Getting some bullish signals, some bearish signals. Retail's been pretty tough here recently, but I'm watching JCPenney's, and it's kind of consolidating here, another little symmetrical triangle that's still in the works. I'm going to watch this play out for a little bit, but I'm thinking this one could continue to see some more downside movement. Next, I've got WHQ and Energy Services. I'm watching this as a symmetrical triangle here. It happens to be pretty wide. I mean, obviously, taking volatility into consideration, it's had some of the biggest moves this stock's seen in a while, but you know, still, this is about a 12-point price target if or when it decides to break. So I'm watching it. Diode, ticker symbol DIOD. And this one's not perfect either, but I'm still watching this as another triangle. If I change my chart settings, you'll notice that some of those high prices, you know, they're all around the range of about $30 per share. If I zoom out on this guy to a 5-year, got a nice little cup and handle formation that's dying to confirm also. So I'm looking at this as kind of a 2-in-1, albeit I don't plan on staying in this thing forever, like the cup and handle here would suggest. So that's diodes. Next, I'm looking at BRY. Berry Petroleum, and looking at this over about the last month or so, lower highs equal lows, another descending triangle. Thinking if this thing breaks 33, it's likely to take out some of these lows down here at about 28. I don't think that's too unrealistic. Next, Digital River, ticker symbol DRIV. And I'm looking at this as kind of a support area as well. A lot of lower highs going on here. Another descending triangle, and it happens to be, you know, pretty wide. So I'm watching a break of about, you know, let's say 43-ish of support before I really start to get bearish on this guy. Next is JCOM, and I apologize if I'm moving too quickly here, but time is of the essence when you have a 10-minute time you have to try to capture within. This thing right here still has a little ways to go. So I'm watching this symmetrical triangle. It might still bounce around between support and resistance here for a while, but based on how dynamic that prior trend was that you'll see going on through here, this thing's traded pretty strong, you know, despite market conditions. So I'm keeping that on my radar as well. Next, ticker symbol LH. I'm watching this as kind of a symmetrical triangle also, just coiling up. Nothing major, but it's pretty volatile stock. Next, Fastenal, FAST. Now if I delete some of these guys here, this gap happens to also be a pretty good neckline for a little head and shoulders formation. If we see 44 give way here, I'm thinking this stock, you know, reverses by about 8 points, which is huge, being that it's a $40 stock. So I'm keeping an eye on that. I'm also watching OSK for a nice little bear flag here in this intermediate downward trend. It has yet to confirm, but that's alright. I like having these things on my radar ahead of time. Last but not least, I talked about this a couple days ago. KLAC. Got a symmetrical triangle going here also. Getting pretty close to confirming today as a reversal. We'll keep an eye on it and see how it pans out. So those are some of the price patterns I'm watching. About halfway through here. For those of you that watched the market cast, or listened to the market cast, excuse me, you heard our weekly watch list ideas. A few things I want to add to that are DRYS. Let's try that again. DRYS. Unbelievable. I'm watching this stock and see how it holds around 65. If this stock can sustain that level and just kind of trade sideways around there, thinking about considering that a support level and picking up a few call options here. We'll see how it pans out. It's been a really, really strong stock, and of course we'd love to see that trend continue. Next, thinking about research in motion. I got to be honest. I'm watching it broke above into a 52-week high here, and it's retracing right back down to its prior high. I'd like to see it stall around that level, which happens to be about 78 or so. If it holds that level, doesn't break below it, I'm looking at that as an entry point to get bullish on the stock. Some bearish ideas. Kohl's, ticker symbol KSS. This thing has been taking a beating, and it's right at support, which I'm thinking it might continue to do so. So I'm watching this level here at about 56, see how it holds up. UPL, which looks like this stock's just dying to break through 53. If it does, I'm looking at going short here. NYX, I saw somebody also mention this in the chat on my blog a little while ago, but you'll see this one's kind of a descending triangle here. Albeit it's kind of gone back and forth between the support line, but that doesn't mean it's not a good downtrending stock and can continue lower. Which also brings up an idea. I mean, speaking of exchanges, for those of you who followed my Head and Shoulders idea, this is a pretty good point right here. If you miss the initial trade, trend lines. Anyways, right at about 140, which is a retest of that neckline, could be a pretty good opportunity to get short on this thing again. A couple other ideas. Again, plethora of bearish things going on here. Actually, I have that wrong. LFG. Land America Financial, lower highs, lower lows. Looks like it's getting ready to cascade quite a bit lower. I'm watching that. Bear Stearns. Still bearish on this guy here. Lower highs, lower lows. It's getting pretty close to that 100 mark, so have that on your radar. Coach, looks like a nice little breakdown today of about 42.5. I like this idea here quite a bit, based on the longer term Head and Shoulders formation. AMG, looking to fade this strength right here, and hopefully ride this stock back down to 100. ACN, this is pretty close to a top here, but I like how this thing's rolling over. So, yeah, I'm watching it. We'll put it that way. ATI, had this on my blog last week. Looking to short some of the strength here in ATI. Looks like a pretty good retest of 100. Doesn't want to break back above it, which means it's probably going to wind up being an $80 stock here sooner than later. VMC. Like this idea also. Lower highs, lower lows. It's like a pretty good low risk place to get into some put options. And again, this is a relative weakness play for all those commodity stocks that were doing really well. March, April, May, June, this stock was horrible. Waiting for it to break down, it finally did. And now it's going down quite a bit. So watch it. CSX, same thing. Old support, new resistance rolling over. I like it. AutoZone, same thing. Old support, new resistance. Like it. And I already talked about ICE. So that's what I'm watching this week. Again, there's a lot more things that are out there. This is just some of the things I can squeeze into 10 minutes. So hopefully you might learn something from it. Hopefully you might criticize me for it. Whatever. Hopefully it's useful in some respect. So thanks for watching. Hopefully it was helpful. And I'll see you guys on the blog. Take care.